The candles trembled against the glass, and my mother's voice sliced clean through the laughter. 80,000 for Leah's studies in Paris, she announced, raising her glass. Forks halted midair. The room buzzed with quiet admiration. Then I asked softly, and me? She didn't even glance up. You don't deserve help. The air turned heavy. Perfume and silence tangled together. I smiled, nodded, and let the sting settle deep. That was the final dinner I ever sat through. 4 years later, when my sister's car rolled to a stop outside my $5 million home, she called our father in tears. None of them had any idea what I'd done to build it. When I was 10, birthdays meant standing just outside someone else's spotlight. Leah's cake came with cameras, confetti, and speeches about her promise. Mine came with a bus pass and a talk about independence. I still remember the driver's name, Henry. He waved each morning as I climbed aboard, my backpack heavier than my shoulders could bear. The seat beside me stayed empty. At home, everything revolved around achievement. Mom measured love in outcomes. Dad measured it in returns. When Leah joined debate club, Mom called it leadership. When I joined robotics, she called it a hobby, not a plan. She'd step into my room, wrinkle her nose at the mess of wires and code, and say, "Try something people actually notice, Alice." Leah got the new laptop, the bigger room, and the steady glow of family attention. I got the quiet tasks, editing her essays, repairing her phone, running errands while the rain soaked through my shoes. Mom said I was helpful. Dad said I was practical. Neither word ever sounded like love. One summer, I won a small local coding contest. The email read, "Congratulations, your project ranked first." So I printed the certificate myself. I showed Dad while he was fixing the sprinkler. He squinted, nodded once. Well, that's a start. Mom never even asked what I'd built. That same night, Leah posted about her Paris interview, and the family group chat flooded with praise, until my phone died from the alerts. Not one message was for me. At dinner, every conversation curved back to her. Leah's professors, Leah's grades, Leah's charm. If I tried to speak, Mom would cut in with, "That reminds me of something Leah said last week." So I learned to let silence speak for me. It hurt less than trying. By high school, I built an app that mapped bus routes for students without cars. The local paper called it a clever idea. Mom called it time you could have spent networking. She clipped the article only because our last name was printed in it. At graduation, they sat in the front row. Perfect smiles, pastel clothes. Leah cheered for a friend across the aisle, while my name echoed through the auditorium. No one stood. I clutched my diploma, not out of pride, but proof. That night, Mom hugged Leah and said, "I'm proud of both my girls, especially you, sweetheart." I smiled because the camera was on. Later, in my room, I pinned the bus pass above my desk, right beside the certificate no one cared about. Rain tapped the window in slow rhythm, like a metronome keeping score. That was the night I learned the math of my family. Leah equaled light. I equaled silence. The evening of the Paris dinner. The air smelled of polished silver and overdone roast. Leah sat across from me, her face glowing beneath the chandelier, rehearsing French phrases while our mother corrected her accent. Between sips of wine, I'd spent the day fixing the cafe Wi-Fi, my fingers still faintly smelling of espresso and burnt circuits. Dad cleared his throat. "It's all settled. 80,000 for tuition, rent, airfare. Leah deserves to study without worrying about money." He said it like a proclamation, not a discussion. Mom nodded, pearls catching the light. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. 80,000? He nodded again. Of course, it's an investment in her future. That word, investment, lodged in my throat. I swallowed, forcing calm. "I'm short on my dorm deposit this term. 2,000 would help. I'll pay it back." Mom didn't flinch. "You don't deserve help, Alice." The words weren't loud, but they cracked the air like breaking glass. Even Leah went still. I waited for Dad to say something, anything. He didn't. He just refilled his wine. "We spend money where it yields returns," he said. "You made your own choices." Something inside me went perfectly quiet. The chandelier's hum, the scrape of cutlery, the scent of candle wax, each detail pressed into me like a photograph. I smiled once, sharp and small. I understand. No one spoke. The moment folded in on itself, sealed and archived. When I rose, the chair legs screeched across the floor, louder than anything I could have said. Outside, the night was cold. Seattle rain had just begun tapping against my windshield, steady as fingers counting time. By the time I made it back to my apartment, my phone was still lighting up with messages. Don't be dramatic. You'll regret this. I turned it face down and watched the glow fade. That was the night I stopped expecting fairness, and the night I began building something no one else could claim. The next morning, I erased every family contact from my phone. No big moment, no tears, just names turning into blank spaces. The silence that followed felt cleaner than any apology ever could. My studio in Capitol Hill was so small the heater clicked every 10 minutes. The air carried a mix of detergent and the faint scent of someone else's burnt toast. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and created a new folder, Life Plan. Inside it, 3 files, savings, goals, projects. I didn't know exactly what I was building, only that it would run smoother if no one else could touch it. By day, I poured coffee for strangers, fixing the cafe's Wi-Fi when it crashed. By night, I coded beneath a yellow desk lamp, rain humming against the glass. Every hour, every dollar, I tracked them all. My one rule was simple: document everything. When people leave gaps, data fills them. A few months later, I landed a part-time IT role at a logistics startup downtown. Glass walls, white boards, the smell of new carpet and ambition. My badge read Wayfinder Labs, contract engineer. 12 people shared that space, but at night it was mine alone. I stayed late, testing lines of code until the sunrise bled gray through the blinds. That's when Arjun noticed me. He leaned over my desk one evening, watching my screen. "You're optimizing delivery routes," he said. I nodded. "Just a side project." He smiled. "Then make it your main one. If it works, we'll pitch it." We did. 2 weeks later, Wayfinder Labs had a prototype and a name for the module: Wayfinder. We tested it with small businesses, coffee shops, bakeries, florists. Each dataset I refined felt like reclaiming a piece of the control I'd lost at that dinner table. I saved everything: notes, fuel logs, emissions reports, client emails. When the pilot succeeded, Arjun called it innovation. I called it proof. Zoe, my roommate, would sometimes swing by the office with takeout. "You're obsessed," she teased, handing me a warm paper bag. "I'm building distance," I said. "From what?" she asked. "From permission." The months blurred into spreadsheets and quiet wins. Dr. Monroe, my therapist, helped me find words for what I'd lived through. Conditional love, emotional invalidation. "Your parents didn't reward you for being good," she said gently. "They rewarded you for being useful." I nodded. "Then I'll make usefulness mine." By year's end, Wayfinder became more than lines of code. It became the voice I never had to raise. Numbers spoke for me. Reports replaced arguments. When the company offered to spin it off into a startup, Arjun named me CTO and co-founder. We signed the papers in a glass conference room overlooking Lake Union. Rain streaked the windows like slow-moving static. My signature didn't tremble. Every milestone I logged. Every invoice I tagged. It wasn't paranoia, it was design. Control had formed now, and I could finally draw its outline. The next 3 years blurred by growth, expansion, quiet triumphs. Wayfinder grew from 2 desks to 2 floors. Our emissions model made national headlines. An angel investor joined after seeing our data. I didn't buy new clothes or post about it. Still wore the same gray hoodies. Still tied my hair the same way. But I upgraded my laptop and kept the old one in a drawer, a relic from a version of me that had survived. One evening, while cleaning that drawer, I found a torn note from years ago. "Call Mom," crossed out so hard it had ripped the paper. I traced the tear with my thumb, then folded it neatly, and filed it under Archive Lessons. For years passed that way, quietly, steadily, until one small alert shifted everything. A real estate app pinged with a new listing, a lakeside property in Medina. I clicked, just to look, but I didn't stop there. The house was all clean lines and light, glass, and wood opening out toward the water. $5 million. The same figure that once felt unreachable. I bought it. No co-signers, no approvals, no shared signatures. The morning I moved in, the air carried the scent of damp cedar and fresh starts. I placed my few boxes in the empty living room and hung one thing on the wall. My green bus pass from my 18th birthday, framed in glass. Beneath it, I'd etched a small line, "From broken roots, better paths grow." For the first time, silence didn't mean abandonment. It meant peace. Some nights, I'd stand by the glass wall, watching the rain draw slow silver trails down the window. My reflection appeared faint, almost ghost-like, but real enough to believe in. The house was quiet except for the distant hum of the washer. Sometimes I thought of my parents, not with resentment, but with a kind of detached wonder. Did they still think worth could be measured in returns? Did they ever wonder about the daughter who'd stopped asking for help? Then I'd close the laptop, confirm the payments, and turn off the lights one by one. The lake shimmered in soft silver. I wasn't escaping their silence anymore. I was mastering my own. It was a Saturday when it happened. Sunlight spilled through the wide panes, painting gold stripes across the floor. Ethan and I were about to leave for the farmer's market when my phone lit up with an unknown number. I almost let it ring out. Almost. Then instinct made me swipe. "Alice, it's me, Leah." Her voice shook, scattered between breaths. "I just drove past Medina. Your name's on the gate. Do you really live there?" Outside, the sprinklers ticked in time with her pause. "What are you trying to ask, Leah?" I said quietly. Her inhale was sharp. "Why do you have that?" The call ended before I could respond. I stared at the screen until it dimmed, my reflection faint in the glass. Within an hour, the messages began: Mom, Dad, Aunt June, Grandma, names I hadn't seen in years. Each voicemail shaped by the same desperation, disguised in different tones. First came my mother's, polished and performative. Leah said something unbelievable. "Darling, call us. She's upset. Don't let jealousy divide this family." Then my father's, calm, deliberate, heavy. "Maya, it's your father. Let's speak as adults. We're still family." That word again, family. It always resurfaced when there was something to be gained. By evening, a courier arrived with a letter, cream stationery, elegant handwriting. "Elaine Collins." The opening line feigned warmth. "Leah's expecting. You'll be an aunt. Maybe it's time to heal." Then came the real purpose. "Your father's having trouble with work. The roof needs fixing. Family supports one another." And finally, the knife's edge. "I know you're not a cold person." I folded the page once, then twice, until it slid neatly into the trash. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I simply reopened my old therapy notes, the one titled Boundaries, and added a single line. "They don't miss me. They miss who I used to be for them." 3 days later, I sent 2 letters. The first to my mother. 3 terms. No money, no guilt, no unexpected visits. I don't need apologies, I need distance. The second message went to my father. "You once called your support an investment. Here's mine, freedom. Let's close the account for good." His reply was brief. "Meet me in Fremont. Thursday, 10 a.m. The cafe near the bridge smelled of wet pavement and burnt espresso. He arrived right on time, coat neatly pressed, eyes dimmer than I remembered. "You look different," he said. Better or worse, difference enough. He tried to smooth things over, saying Mom's cruelty was just misunderstood. I stayed quiet until he added, "We did our best. Parents make mistakes." I met his gaze. "It wasn't a mistake, Dad. It was math." He frowned. "Math. You put 80,000 into an image. I built worth from zero. The only difference is honesty." He didn't reply, just stared at his untouched coffee as the steam faded to nothing. When I stood to leave, I said, "You don't owe me anything." That's the point. A week later was the Seattle Education Gala. Wayfinder Lab sponsored a new STEM scholarship. The ballroom shimmered in gold, the air heavy with perfume and conversation. Ethan squeezed my hand. "Ready?" I nodded, spotting them before they saw me, Mom in pearls, Leah in soft blue, her pregnancy rounding her face. They approached, smiling for the cameras. Mom's tone was sweet, polished steel. We came to congratulate you. You've done so well. But remember, success means giving back. Leah's preparing for the baby, and your father still needs that roof. I let her finish, then turned to the host. Excuse me. A stage assistant brought over the pearl white envelope I'd prepared. I took the microphone, steady. Tonight, I'd like to make a personal donation. $80,000 towards scholarships for young women told they don't deserve help. The room fell silent. Then applause rose, slow, then thunderous. I looked straight at my mother. You once called it an investment, I said quietly. So do I. Her smile fractured. Dad, who had just walked in, froze mid-step. The spotlight hit the check, $80,000. Signed, Alice Collins. It gleamed beneath the lights like quiet justice. When the applause faded, I walked off stage, past their stunned faces, into the cool Seattle night. Rain had begun again, soft, steady, cleansing. After the gala, I posted nothing. No captions, no photos, no statements. Silence moved faster than any headline. The next morning, the city was veiled in mist. I stood barefoot on the deck, the lake silver beneath the rain. My phone stayed inside, screen down. It hadn't rung since that night, and for once, that silence didn't ache. It felt earned. Inside, the house was still. Ethan brewed coffee in the kitchen, the scent mixing with the hum of the washing machine. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. Finally. He smiled. You looked lighter last night. I wasn't lighter, I told him. Just finished. After he left for work, I walked into my office. The glass framed the lake like a slow-moving screen. My desk was bare, just my laptop, a half-full mug, and the small glass frame on the wall. Inside it, the old green bus pass. Once, they said it meant responsibility. Now it meant freedom. I opened my therapy journal and wrote the final entry. They taught me love had to be earned. I learned peace doesn't. A heron glided across the lake, wings slow and sure, disappearing into fog. I thought of everything that brought me here. The late nights coding under flickering lights, the advice that masked rejection, the endless chase for approval. None of it owned me anymore. In the distance, thunder murmured beyond Medina's calm. I closed my laptop, turned off the lights, and sat by the window, listening. The rain didn't sound like the night I left. It sounded like the life I chose. They once said I didn't deserve help. Maybe they were right, because what I needed wasn't help. It was distance, silence, and time to build something untouchable. Now, when rain hits the glass, it doesn't sound like sorrow anymore. It sounds like proof. If anyone's ever told you that you weren't enough, remember this. Sometimes walking away is the loudest answer you'll ever give. And if this story stayed with you, don't scroll just yet. Tell me, where are you watching from? I want to know how far silence has carried you.